Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Burridge Gymnasium on the campus of McMaster University. The 2018 USports Men's Volleyball National Championship continuing here. It is day 2 and we are into the consolation semifinal part of the bracket. I'm Kyle Compo, joined alongside by Jared Brown. And Jared, we see Queens, the 7th seed, taking on UNB, the 6th seed in our first consolation semifinal today. But two teams coming off two kind of different results yesterday.
Yeah, UNB had a tough quarterfinal against UBC and really came up against a super hot team in UBC who played fantastic, and they didn't have much answer to slow them down. And Queens, really had a great match against Alberta. Started off a little bit slow in the first couple sets, but bounced back with a big win in the third, and really probably should have won the fourth set until Alberta stole it away. So they're coming in here in kind of different mindsets off the day yesterday, but they're both here in this same match and wanting to extend their season by one more game.
Gales coming in with a little bit of a different look. Most of the same guys on the floor with the exception of number 8, Joel Rudd, who's replacing Mitchell Newert. So we'll see if the Gales, with this potentially being their last game of the season, getting some of their bench guys in and maybe some guys that could be their last game, including number 2, Marcus Trentz. He was excellent once again yesterday.
Yeah, Joel Rudd didn't get the start yesterday. He's worn the Maple Leaf in the past with the Youth Selects national team, and obviously these Queens players probably motivated by trying to get head coach Brenda Willis one more game in her storied career.
And on the other side, we have the UNB varsity Reds, again, as Jared mentioned, coming off a tough loss against UBC, who was clinical in their victory. But they're going to be looking for a bounce-back victory and an effort here as well, as the shot initially goes from Ryan Kolpitz off the back, swings straight into the net, and it's going to be a first point of the game going to the Gales.
And these would always be tough matches to get up for. Obviously, every team coming here has expectations of playing for a medal, hoping to get into that top part of the bracket. But still some pride and some honor on the line here, especially for the younger players. The experience gained in these matches is valuable.
And Doucette comes to the far side. They're going to say there was a touch on the block. They come right back out to the left. Triple block coming across that time, led by Hutchison, who gets a touch on the ball. Kaufman pushes to the far side, and Trent's just going to send it over. Doucette goes into the middle this time. UNB on the board as they run it inside to Brad Stewart.
Yep, I've seen a couple swings there from McConnell on the left side. He struggled a little bit yesterday. Second-year outside hitter, looking to get to a bit more of offensive groove here today.
Doucette with a jumping float comes to top. Grossinger inside to Prentice, who gets the shoot to get through the block. And Zane Grossinger playing like a veteran out there, but is a all-Canadian rookie nod this year.
A tough loss for Queens yesterday. They would have probably took a while to get over that one, I would think.
Zach Hutchison, the spinner. Hard serve from Hutchison, handled nicely out of the back and serve receive, and a pipe attack coming off the top of the block. It was off the fingertips there of Marcus Trenson at the back. Pascal McCarthy getting on the board.
McCarthy, who almost can be more effective out of the back row than in the front row. Had opportunity to see him now the past couple seasons. Saw him this Christmas at the Westman Classic in Winnipeg, and really, they will set him a lot out of the back row on the pipe.
Hard spin serve. Hutchison handles that with ease. They go back to Hutchison out of the pipe, but it's handled out of the back by Doucette. Come to the side, and it's a swing there again from McCarthy. This time can't find the floor. It goes well wide of the court.
And Queens, really kind of an underdog story to get here to this tournament. Had a couple big upsets in the OUA playoffs, and played. I think it's nice, a little bit of pressure off of them. Right, and today, really no pressure on either team. We're hoping both teams can rebound and play their best games of the year.
Set push to the outside. And Grossinger able to get down with a nice dig. Pushed down to the right, and this time it's handled as Ryan Kolpitz smashes it to the floor, and someone that UNB is going to lean on to have a nice bounce-back effort today.
Stewart's going back to serve. Stewart a little bit undersized in the middle, but a good athlete.
Floater off the serve. Hutchison with a mishandle. It's a party ball, but it's picked up and it hits the floor. Hutchison looked as though he may have gotten a touch on it, but smacks the floor in front and bounces up, and it's a 4-3 lead now for UNB. Another point for UNB. It is now a 5-3 cushion for the varsity Reds. And a backcourt violation called on the Gales. As Stewart goes back to serve. A float serve, this time short. Goes off the tape and stays down. Service error that time charged to UNB. As Trent goes back, a deep float serve. Doucette set out of the middle, goes to the pipe, and it's an attacking error just long out the back from Connor McConnell. And we're back even at 5.
Just misfired on that pipe there, McConnell. Trent's now serving. Taken there by Duncan, pass off the net, Doucette. All the way outside to McCarthy. Tipped over, kept alive by Duncan. Doucette again outside to McCarthy. Off the top of the block, kept alive there by Rudd. Bump set to Trent's, and Trent's out of the back row. Falls down in front of Doucette.
Queens retakes the lead. Now Trent's go back to set up. The float serve from Trent's. Doucette scrambles to get to it, sets it straight up. It drops down, nobody in coverage. Pascal McCarthy a little frustrated, and it's 3 straight points for the Gales.
McCarthy was pretty fired up yesterday. He was getting into it a little bit with his McCarthy contender on the other side of the court, Finn McCarthy from UBC. They were going at it pretty good against each other yesterday.
Set straight up again for McCarthy, and it's touched by Grossinger on the block alongside Peckham. Push outside to Joel Rudd, who comes down the line. And that's a demonstration of what Joel Rudd brings to this Gales attack. And it'll be a timeout upcoming now for the Varsity Reds, who concede 4 in a row and now trail 8-5 midway through this first set. So good start if you're the Queens Gales, able to rally back midway through, or early on still in this opening set. 8-5 is the lead. And again, Queens, as Jared mentioned earlier, coming through the OUA playoffs on a winning streak. They had a tough start to the season. Going into the new year, we're not looking great. Then rolled through the OUA playoffs, upending both Western and Ryerson en route to qualifying for the OUA Provincial Championship here at Burridge Gym against McMaster. And the Marauders surgical in that game, winning 3-0. But an OUA silver looking like a long shot at the turn of the calendar for the Gales. But certainly playing like a team capable of this national championship here today, leading 8-5 in the first set. Trent's float serve again, McCarthy. Back set, picked up nicely there by Kaufman. Hutchison forced to take second ball, and they're going to call UNB on the net. Bit of a scramble play there from the Gales. Rudd touches it over with a tip. That's another point there for the Gales.
Interesting how Trent's is playing on the opposite today after yesterday switching things up. Just a bit of a different look here, maybe with Rudd out there in the lineup, kind of just changing up their personnel.
And potentially part of why we're seeing Rudd on that left side is because Trent's is playing on the opposite today. So Hutchison and Joel Rudd, the 2 left sides. Peckham Prentice in the middle, Grossinger setting, Kaufman passing. And then Marcus Trent's, who just has that one almost skimming by his feet on the side touchline there. It's another point for UNB, who's now back within 2, trailing 9-7. Yeah, Trent's a versatile utility player on the right-hand side. And the topper, Kaufman, passes tight to the net. Grossinger with a good heads-up play, but UNB on top of it, able to recycle. Sets inside to Peckham, and he finds the back end. Unable to get a touch on it at the back there was Alex Eggers. And it's a 3-point cushion restored here for Queens.
Now, Kyle, you've seen this Queens team quite a bit the last couple seasons. You think they're playing their best volleyball this season here this weekend?
They certainly are, and again, they have ridden their momentum from that run in the OUA playoffs. And again, we saw them yesterday against a really strong Alberta team, and potentially could have gone to 5, and who knows what could have happened in that 5th and deciding set. But Queens playing very well at the moment, and with a lot of young players, obviously losing Peckham and Trent's, but they have a lot of young talent that are going to be they're able to ride with in the next couple of seasons, led by Zane Grossinger. Back to serve is Pascal McCarthy. Jumping float. Hutchison able to square up and get to the ball. They set from straight up, and Grossinger able there to pick it up in coverage. Doucette to the outside. Roll shot over the top there from McConnell. Grossinger to the off there to Peckham. Second hand's taken now by Kaufman. Goes outside to Zach Hutchison, who wipes it off the top of the block and out of play. Another point for Queens. We're back up by 3.
Yeah, Grosinger, who received some rookie nomination recognition this year with being named to the first team, All-Canadian for the rookie team, and was a gold medalist with the Team Ontario at the Canada Games in Winnipeg this past summer, and had a good club season last year with Lakeside. Really, it's a nice solidifying. When you have a first-year setter who's able to come in and start, knowing that hopefully you have him for 4 or 5 seasons. Really able to build a core around, especially knowing that there will be a new head coach next season. It's nice to come in that position, knowing that you have somebody to count on for the future.
Yeah, and a lot of firepower on this Gales team for the next couple of years, led by Grosinger. Doucette pushes to the outside, swings straight down the line, that time from Colpitts. Goes off arms and out of play, but they've got the likes of Mitchell Newart, Joel Rudd, Malcolm Prentice, and then Zach Hutchison, who missed half of the year with injury. He's going to be a guy to watch out for on the OUA circuit next year. And then, of course, Lucas Kaufman back as a libero. So Queens in great shape for whoever takes over their men's program. Get to the outside. Trentz is blocked. Getting a touch on it there was number 6, Connor McConnell, and number 16, Brad Stewart. UNB back to within 2.
Whenever you discuss kind of the on the eye test, if you were to walk into the gym and choose volleyball players just from looking at them, McConnell will definitely fit that mold. I mean, he's long and lean, and really looks like he could have a really high ceiling in this sport.
Queens answers the call back the other way. A swing from Hutchison goes into the block, but out of play. So the 3-point cushion restored here as we approach the midway point of this opening set. Grosinger, deep float serve. Tight to the net, and it's a great dump over top by Doucette, but the Gales are able to read it. Trentz swings again, double block. And Marcus Trentz hasn't been able to get rolling here on the right side, perhaps making those adjustments midway through the tournament. Might be tougher than you think.
Yeah, Trentz really couldn't do much wrong yesterday at all. He was on fire, and unfortunately, a couple errors to end the match, which is tough for a player, as I'm sure all those good plays that he made kind of go down the tubes when you think about how the way the game ended yesterday. But nice kill there to bounce back after getting blocked.
Well, and as we talk about Trentz's early struggles here on the right side, he gets a nice set onto the left on that rotation and hammers the ball through, and it's 14-11 for the Gales. Hutchison has got a hard, aggressive spin serve. We'll see if he can take advantage of a couple points here. High toss from him, and it's out the back. And again, the high-risk, high-reward nature of that spin serve can win you a lot of points, Jared, but at the same time, can certainly clip the net a few times, and that one goes out the back.
In these consolation games, it always is an interesting dynamic. Depends on what your expectation was coming into this tournament, what you're hoping for, but if the teams are able to get over that disappointment, you can usually get some high-level volleyball, and right now, we are seeing some good plays on both sides of the net. I think both teams are probably a little more comfortable here today than they were yesterday.
Grosinger with great location on that pipe ball set is coming out of the back as Zach Hutchison, a Kingston native, just springing out of the back court and hammering that ball. 15-12 the score now for Queens as we approach the technical timeout. Doucette runs it into the middle. Hutchison able to pick it up on receive, push to the outside and roll, tips it up over the top. Taking hands this time is Drew Duncan. Go across in a hard attack, but Hutchison there to dig it. Duncan again inside to Doucette. To the right side to Colpitts, and it's pushed off the block and out of bounds. Good rally on both sides. A couple good digs by the Gales, but UNB pushes through, and it's Colpitts with the point for UNB.
Colpitts, one of the fifth-year players on this team with Pascal McCarthy, and I think Colpitts has played better so far early on today than he did yesterday. We didn't call his name a lot in that game against UBC.
Grosinger attack, keeps the ball alive, and Trent's the backcourt attack. It's just going to be a free ball upcoming now for the Reds. Kaufman sets inside. They go offside to Trentz, comes across the tape, and it drops in, and that'll take us to the first set technical timeout. Queens 16, UNB 13, kind of on par of what we expected to see in this first consolation semi between the 6 and 7. So a 3-point cushion here for the Gales. 16-13. So you look up onto the scoreboard. Ryan Colpitts, 6 points so far for UNB. As Jared said, we also didn't say a lot of UNB names at all yesterday as UBC was cruising. And it was a difficult game for the AUS champions yesterday against the third-seeded UBC Thunderbirds.
Yeah, and I think really in all fairness, probably any team that played against UBC yesterday was going to have struggles. They were just firing on all cylinders, and it didn't help that UNB, I don't think they would say they'd be happy with the way they played either. They picked it up as the game went along, but certainly UBC put UNB in a lot of tough situations. So a little bit more rhythm today for their offense, especially Colpitz, like I said, 6 points. That's a great start for him.
Coming out of the technical timeout, Trentz will take the serve. And it'll be a float serve from him, handled by Duncan. Doucette goes straight up in the backcourt attack. Again from McCarthy. Jumping off right at that tee, and it's a great execution there from McCarthy, and we'll get a substitution as Evan Schlatter and Steve Randall come in for the Varsity Reds.
They used this substitution every set yesterday as well, but they weren't able to really get it going as Schlatter had difficulties from the service line. Let's see if they'll have more success with it here today.
Schlatter with a nice float serve. It's passed up by Rudd, and a great serve set to the back there from Grossinger. Just an attacking error from Trentz, a little short into the net as he tried to cut it across outside the block.
Tough serve there from Schlatter coming in. Yesterday he had some struggles on the service line. That one was an effective one. Right down the line off the bench.
And this time a little short. Schlatter goes and it clips the tape and stays back. Schlatter will stay in, it looks like now, and pass out of the backcourt and serve receive. Joel Rudd back to serve for Queens. And a spin serve upcoming from him. Good pass out of serve receive. Sets inside to Schlatter. He's able to roll it. Attack to the outside off the top of the block, and Rudd right in the right position to pass it up again. Grossinger to the outside. Hutchison cuts down the line off the arms of Schlatter and out of play. 3-point cushion restored for Queens.
It must be an interesting dynamic here, Kyle, with Brandon Willis knowing this could possibly be her last game. Wanting to win, wanting to move forward in the tournament, but also knowing maybe just wanting to coach one more game in her career.
Schlatter pushed to the outside, cuts across. They're going to say it touched in, and they will, as Steve Randall gets on the board. Good angle there from him to swing as it goes outside the left arm there of Jack Peckham and touches that sideline. Deep float serve that time from McCarthy. And Peckham gets a touch on it. And Randall, unable to scramble over the top, has to go outside that referee stand to try to keep the ball alive and couldn't quite do so. 19-16 the lead now for the Gales. Peckham back to serve.
One thing that's interesting is UNB electing to go with 2 liberos here, switching in and out, and every team has the option to do that, but not we didn't see it from everybody yesterday. And kind of interesting, just using their strengths. Some for better on defense, some better on receive.
Great pickup there by Rudd, and he's going to send the free ball over. Duncan takes first touch, a little bit off. A good fix across there from Schlatter, and a hard attack from Connor McConnell. Someone you alluded to, Jared, earlier as somebody who's going to be key for this Varsity Reds program in a couple years. Nick Glynn going to come in and serve for the Varsity Reds. Trying to trim the deficit to a single point here in the late stages of the first set. Deep serve there from Glynn. Rudd mishandles it a little bit as Kaufman pushes far side, and the referee going to make a late call on the double touch set there from Lucas Kaufman.
Yeah, the Queens bench called that, or the UNB bench called that one first, but it was the right call. Referee did make the right call.
So a free point back. It's another deep serve. Rudd able to get to it better this time. And Trentz comes across and answers for the Gales. Grossinger able to set him up nicely, and it's another substitution upcoming as Compander comes back in for the Varsity Reds. 20-18 the lead now for Queens. Grossinger back to serve. 3 attackers at the net for Queens with this backcourt hands, and service error that time from Grossinger trying to find that back corner.
Just missed long. Maybe by about 1 tile.
The subs continue to roll in here for the Varsity Reds as Doucette comes back in set. And Doucette will run the backcourt hand system here as well. So 3 attackers at the net for both teams at the moment. And Doucette with a deep serve. Clips off the net and unable to get down in time to pass it up is Prentice. And it's tied at 20.
UNB kind of been battling this whole set here from behind. Finally now able to tie it up at 20. Should make for a good finish to the first set.
Doucette. Floater again, and mishandle there from Trentz. And they're going to call the point to Queens. Crossing the plane of the tape there, Jared. And good call there from the ref. I think St. Grosinger still able to make a play on that ball and was unable to do so.
Looks like he might have hurt his hand a little bit, his right hand. He's shaking it off a little bit after that one, but that's a great example of why, as a setter in the back row, still get up, try to get the ball, and you might get the call sometimes.
Hutchison. A spinner from him. Doucette able to fix it up off of the tough pass on serve receive. Grosinger sets in the middle to Prentice, and the ball drops down. Malcolm Prentice gets the Gales up by 2 late in the set, 22-20. And we'll see a timeout upcoming now from UNB. And what's been a pretty even set back and forth. Teams trading points, each team going on their respective runs, but the Gales back to where they were at about the technical timeout, leading by a pair. And we'll see if they can close it out here.
Yeah, it's been Queens right from the beginning. Mentioned that 2020 was the first time UNB was really able to close the gap, but now 2 straight points for Queens. Coach McMullen calls timeout. Let's see what they're able to do out of the timeout here. But I think both teams look a little more comfortable. Really, to be fair, I thought Queens played pretty well yesterday. Maybe a little bit slow in the first set, but played well in 2, 3, and 4. UNB, the first 2 sets, they had their struggles. Third set played a little bit better, but the offense just seems to be clicking a little bit better. And maybe Queens a little bit smaller than UBC, right? So some of those shots that just weren't quite there yesterday with some of the bigger blocks from UBC now are scoring for UNB. And just changing of the pace just a little bit, and both teams have looked a little more effective. Yeah,
UNB only 11 points in their opening set loss yesterday to UBC, so a tough start to the tournament for them indeed. Got behind the ball way too quickly, but have rallied back nicely. They put up 19, I believe, in the third set that they lost to UBC yesterday, and now have 21 here against the Gales in this opening set, but still trail by a point. Back to serve is McConnell. Spinner from him. Joel Rudd with a good first pass. Grosinger inside to Prentice. Tries to cut down into 1, but it's out of bounds on the side. And we're back even again. No timeout upcoming from the Gales, so we'll continue to serve through. McConnell again. A hard serve from him, goes right to Kaufman. Grosinger outside to Trentz. And Trentz can't seem to find his groove on that right side. I think it's a 3rd or 4th attacking error from the opposite so far today.
Coach Wills calling her first of 2 timeouts here in the set as they now trail 23-22. So this will be the first time since the beginning that UNB has had a lead. And as is most often the case in all sports, when you play with such a hot hand one day, it's tough to replicate that the next day, and that's what we're seeing a little bit right now from Trentz.
There is a quick look at some of the attacks there. There is one from Trentz, able to swing from the backcourt. Cuts across a hard swinger is Marcus Trentz. And there is an answer back the other way. I believe that's Colpitz cutting down the corner on the right side. Some good angles there of some hard hitters that we have here in this game, but it's a 23-22 lead for the Varsity Reds. 3 straight points for them as they look to push 2 to take the first set. McConnell, spinner again, goes right to Kaufman. Excellent pass from him. Pipe from Hutchison finds the back corner. Great job by Zach Hutchison to take a bit of pace off the ball and have it loop into that back corner. So Prentice back to serve at 23 points apiece. Floater from Prentice at the deep ball. Doucette goes to the outside, and it's a swing off the block off of Peckham and Joel Rudd. And it's now set point, Varsity Reds.
We discussed earlier how Colpitz had 6 points. That's now only at 7, so he went on a bit of a run there without getting him the ball, but a big kill to put his team 1 point away from taking this first set.
It's a float serve off the tape. Disappointing serve there from Brad Stewart, who wants that one back.
It's always interesting. Stewart had been subbed out the time before when he had served, and usually when you kind of look at the rotations of how you're going to get through, you don't figure you'll get back to him to serve again, and it's amazing how it comes up with him on the line.
Doucette, they run the pipe, and it's great misdirection there by Connor McConnell. Kaufman was already bracing for a heavy impact there out of position 5, but just takes enough off of it to have it roll into the pot.
And Coach Wilshire having a timeout left, but deciding not to use it with the set on the line here for the second time for UNB.
And it's Colpitz with a hard spin. Steve Kaufman gets to it. Grosinger goes to his forearms, and Rudd able to get it deep. Comes in tight, Doucette, pass to the offside, and it's short into the tape. But it drops down in front of the block there from Peckham. And the opening set goes to UNB, 26-24. They lead the match, 1-0. Join us back. We'll have the second set upcoming. You're watching the USports Men's National Championships on USports Live. And welcome back to the Burridge Gymnasium on the campus of McMaster University. This is day 2 of the 2018 USports Men's Volleyball National Championship. This is consolation semifinal number 1 between the 7-seeded Queens Gales and the 6-seeded UNB Varsity Reds. And UNB gets the first set, Jared, 26-24 the score, but the team's trading points basically throughout the set. The Gales were up late a couple of times but couldn't quite close out the set.
Yeah, I think both teams with a pretty good performance there. Obviously, Queens yesterday played a little bit better than UNB, but I think a nice response after a disappointing loss yesterday for the Varsity Reds against UBC to come out and take this opening set. And, you know, quite often these consolation semifinals end up becoming pretty close. Said if the teams, you know, if they didn't really have sort of their sights set on winning gold, you know, they knew they'd be tough if they're coming as a lower seed. They can usually bounce back here and play pretty well on this second day.
Grosinger sets to the inside, and Prentice gets the Gales up and running. The attack out of the middle, cuts to his right, finds a spot back in behind position 5. And the Gales get the first point of the second set. Zach Hutchison taking the ball back to the service line for the Gales. And that hard, aggressive spin serve from him. Goes right up, and it's picked up there by Drew Duncan. Set to the offside, and it's blocked down by the Gales, but it lands down on the Gales side of the net. Swing there from Connor McConnell, and we're tied even at 1. McConnell back to serve for the Varsity Reds. High spin serve from him, just out of bounds. That high arcing ball, unable to dip down in time, and the service error gives the point back to Queens, who lead 2-1.
We see the stats here after the first set. It was Queens out-hitting UNB, basically 31% efficiency to 24% for UNB, but it was Colpitts leading the way with 7 kills on 11 attempts.
And the overpass there leads to an easy attack at the net there from Marcus Trentz, who's going to try to rally back.
His 5th kill, but also to go along with 4 errors. It was Zach Hutchison leading the way for Queens with 5 kills on 8 attempts, so a good first set for Hutchison.
Prentice back to serve for the Gales. It's a deep float serve from him. Duncan takes first ball. Push to the left side as McCarthy with the swing. Grosinger pass to the far side. Touch back down, but Rudd able to keep it alive. It's going to be a free ball coming from Prentice. Duncan gets to it first. Doucette to the outside. Just going to slap it over with the left hand. Prentice scrambles to get the ball up. And it's pushed over on the free there from Hutchison. Backcourt attack. Grosinger able to get it that time on the dig. And Rudd trying to put it away. It's a triple block coming across for UNB and deflects to the open court. Nice rally back and forth, but UNB takes it.
Interesting switch here Coach Willis has made is flopping Trentz and Rudd. It was Trentz who was on the left yesterday, started the first set here on the opposite, and now they put Rudd out there, so moving things around and see if Trentz can get back into the rhythm he had yesterday.
Back to the outside to Trentz, and he looks more comfortable out there. We saw it stretching through, and based on matchup in the playoffs, was alternating between the left and right, but yesterday against Alberta was just killer on that left side, so perhaps a good switch for Trentz to go back to the left.
You know, and some people might ask, does it really make a difference? And for some players, it definitely does. Obviously, being a left-handed or right-handed player, there can be some opportunities to be what side you're on, but just some players see the court better, right? That their shots, their arm swing work a little bit better from other sides of the court. And Trentz played so well yesterday on the left, struggled a little bit on the right in the opener, now back here with 2 quick kills in this second set.
Ryan Colpitts back to serve for UNB. Kaufman with a high pass off first ball. Grosinger able to get to it, sets it up to Peckham. Doucette pushed to the outside, hard attack from McCarthy. Rudd able to get to it, but unable to keep it back in play. It's a point there from number 11, Pascal McCarthy.
I think McCarthy's played a little bit better today than yesterday as well. He only had 2 kills in the opening set, but being a bit more aggressive, with some of his attacks and challenging the Queens defense.
Colpitts. Deep ball this time, not even close to the court. As a service error there from Colpitts, a little too heavy, goes out the back, and the Gales are back up by a single point. Trentz. Float serve, and it drops down in time as Marcus Trentz finds the back corner, the ball dipping at the last second, able to paint that back line. 6-4 the lead now for the Gales early on in the second set, looking to tie the match up at a set apiece. Good set to the inside. Kaufman unable to get a touch there as Herbert Compagnie comes across.
And now it's McCarthy who'll go back to serve. And I had the opportunity, Kyle, we both did 2 years ago here at this tournament. McCarthy against Saskatchewan, I remember in that quarterfinal matchup, was really just unstoppable. As a third-year player, now here in his 5th year, wanting to end his career on a winning note if they can be victorious today and advance to play one more game tomorrow.
Zach Hutchison keeping his early game roll going as he was able to cut across. 7-5 the lead now for the Gales. Jack Peckham, the transfer from Nipissing, back to serve for Queens. Float serve from him. No spin on the ball at all. Comes across down the line. It's Ryan Colpitts once again.
Colpitts definitely playing much better today, and one of the 2 fifth-year outsides on this team. And Colpitts, they're missing Ivan Anderson, obviously, was a huge part of their offense the last few seasons, the Norwegian import, and now Colpitts here in his 5th year playing in that position.
Zach Hutchison continuing to roll. He cuts down the line this time. Another big swing from him. Two-point lead restored. Grosinger with a deep float serve. Duncan gets to it. Then they come across, and an attacking error once again. And they're going to say it went off the top of the block there from Queens. Didn't think anyone was really in reach there, but it went off hands and out of play.
it's almost impossible, depending what angle you are in the gym, to see those touches. It's amazing how, to me, that looked straight out of bounds, but all the linesmen called it quickly.
All right, up top. Coverage is there, but no one able to pick it up. It's hard off the block, straight down to the floor. That's tough to pass up, Jared.
And Rudd didn't get the start yesterday, but seeing some court action here today.
Doucette finds Trentz on serve receive. Grossinger cuts inside. Trentz there for coverage. Try to go to Prentice again, but Hutchison there, and it's a double block again. Leading the way, number 6, Connor McConnell. As Brenda Willis comes up from her chair to say some instructions to her team and try to get them back on page here, as it's 3 straight points for the varsity Reds. Hutchison answers the call once again. Gales number 15 off to a great start here. They continue to roll from the service line.
And it's Hutchison who will go back to serve, leading this Queens team in points.
8 so far from Hutchison. Spin serve, but it's short this time. Hutchison's spinner goes into the nets, gives the point right back to UNB. Connor McConnell back to the service line for UNB. He's got a spinner as well. High toss from him. Trent's able to pass it up. Grossinger back outside to Trentz, who cuts down the line. And Marcus Trentz able to delay that jump just a little bit to allow the block to move on its way down, and he just crushes that ball.
And I think a good decision by Coach Willis to move Trentz back to the left here. Looks much more comfortable, and he's a gamer. I mean, he quite a few plays yesterday in the stands. The people just commenting on how aggressive he was in his attack against Alberta, and doing that same thing now here in the second. What a great kick dig there.
Well done by Malcolm Prentice, and Peckham able to get it over there in the reactionary swing. And Rudd cross court, great angle there from Joel Rudd. Able to square that shoulder out a little bit and cuts inside the block, and nobody there to pick it up.
Malcolm Prentice, and see the Queens bench kind of shaking their head a little bit. It's, I mean, really the best sign of knowing you're not prepared to play defense is when you use your feet, right? That means you're back on your heels, but he kept it alive, and that's all that matters.
Second hand's taken there by Duncan, but it's a swing on the left side. Another attacking error for UNB, goes well out of the court, and no touch called from anyone in the building that time. It goes straight out the back of the court, and the Gales are back up by 2, leading 12-10.
You get the feeling, Kyle, this is going to be a long one?
Yeah, I think so.
Two teams pretty even here, I think.
Prentice with a deep float serve. Doucette comes to the right side to Colpitz. Prentice takes it up off the dig inside to Peckham. And getting the touch there off the block, but unable to keep it towards the court. Goes into the stands, and it's another point for Queens, up 13-10.
A more traditional dig there from Prentice, using his arms. Now, if he can get one of his head now, he'll be able to complete the trifecta.
They'll force UNB to call a timeout. 13-10 is the lead in favor of the Gales. And you're right, Jared, this one does have the making and the feeling right now of being a potential 5-setter. Certainly two teams evenly matched here. And I think the Gales, a little disappointed with how the first set ended, thought maybe they had let that one. As we get a couple of replays upcoming here from some of our highlights here early on in the first set and a half. As there is the push from Kaufman. It's a great triple block coming across there from UNB. And there is the angle cut there from Rudd. Able to swing just inside or just outside that attack line. Good effort there from the now right side for the Gales.
Yeah, it wouldn't be shocking if all the games today, they could go the distance. These could be close matchups all the way through, all 4 games.
Prentice back to serve for Queens. It's a float serve from Malcolm Prentice. Duncan takes the first ball. Come to the right side to Colpitz, and Trent's had the block. And then on his way back through to avoid the net, brought the ball with him.
Yeah, he was right on it. So you got to pull those hands back off the net as you go. And unfortunately, the ball was still just rattling around in his arms there and pulled it back down to his own side.
Stewart back to serve. Float serve from him. Grossinger to adjust. Trent's off the block. As Doucette gets to it, but moving his feet, unable to set cleanly, and that's a double touch. Easy call to make there for the officials. Marcus Trentz. The Gales out of rotation. The initial call, push to the outside, and then the block is met there, and now the horn goes midway through the play.
And Queens knew it. They were aware they're out of rotation.
So Queens was fully aware, but the horn went midway through the point, midway through the rally, and they give UNB the point. I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
So I mean, it was supposed to be red serve. There's not really much debate to that. So Queens was out of rotation.
So Queens out of rotation. Trentz was back to serve, but the serve had happened. The rally was on. You can't end the play with a horn.
I think at the end of the day, the play should have finished, Kyle.
Yeah.
And then at that point, once the play finished, they would have called them for out of rotation.
It may be
for the wrong
discussed.
server.
Nonetheless, I think UNB will obviously get the point, but a little confusion there.
Yeah, and Grossinger.
Still trying to figure it out here, but that's kind of the nature of the beast sometimes, Jared, when you're making that many changes, and it can even happen with guys at this level, where they're rotating through left and right side, not necessarily remembering who's where, and you know, you get used to seeing the same guys opposite to you, or guys following you when you're back in your serving rotation, and that may have been what happened there to Queens. You see Grossinger and now Willis still talking with the officials here.
Yeah, and Coach Willis is correct here. She is right. Because it was supposed to be 8 serve, so 4 should be in position 4. He's trying to tell Grossinger he should be in 5, but obviously they would have served, right? So they can't rotate back 2 times. It's pretty simple. Simple to us, right? They got it all figured out.
Yeah. So the point does go to the varsity Reds for out of rotation on Queens. As Trentz picks it back up. Peckham swings into the block. Nobody on coverage there for Queens. Would have been an easy call if the Gales able to rally right away off of that. It would have been a non-factor. But
no, interesting thing about all of that is that Grossinger, he knew he had rotated to the front row, so when he saw that it was Trentz going back to serve and not Rudd, he could have still, you know, once the ball is blown into serve, you can still switch your server, right? You just got to make sure that the other person goes back to serve. So now Coach Willis is saying that because they have data volley on the bench, which is interesting, so they keep track of everything. So now she's going to call timeout and discuss things. But the setter Grossinger in his first year, I think he's a pretty smart player. I feel like he's someone who has a high volleyball IQ, and his dad was a coach for a long time. Howie Grossinger, a player for himself, and you know he knew. And like I said, and good opportunity for young players who are watching. Once that whistle blows, the ball just can't cross the line, right? So you could leave the ball there. You could have yelled to Rudd. You got 8 seconds. Rudd could have still gone back and served. And that's where the mistake was. You know, they knew you were wrong, but you shouldn't just serve. Somebody's going to figure it out, and I guess that was the mistake really from Queens. But there seems to be a lot of confusion because, like Willis said, they have data volley on the bench, which kind of keeps all the information of what's going on, and they think that they're actually, it was supposed to be Trent's to serve. So something's going on here, but another interesting fact to all this, Kyle, is they're using the electronic score sheet here, not a paper copy, which is great for 2 things. The electronic's usually not going to be wrong, and secondly, it uses a lot less paper, right? And I think that's a big thing. Those carbon copies, you know, you get 3 for every single game, right? That's a lot of paper that's being wasted game after game after game. I think this is a good opportunity here now. And there's actually an iPad that will slot into the pad, the pole pad, so the referees, they can see it the whole time in front of them as well. They don't have that iPad here with them, though, today.
The volleyball pole pad iPad. But after that second kind of miscommunication there, you saw Brenda Willis come up to the official and again arguing the case, asking if he had the right lineup card.
Right.
So a little bit of trouble there, but nonetheless, it looks as though we're back as Kaufman pushes it up to Trentz, who has to adjust and just tip it over. Roll top as Hutchison gets it up to Grossinger. Comes across to Trentz, hammers the ball cross court. The outside shoulder there, McConnell couldn't do anything with it.
Now here's an interesting question for you, Kyle. Obviously a totally different spectrum, but what if you didn't have to rotate in volleyball? What if you could just choose positions on the floor? Whoever you wanted to serve could serve, whoever wanted to block could block, right? And you could make subs in and out. That would make for a totally different game, would it not?
Certainly would. As again, there's a strong serve upcoming there, but I think that's part of the fun of it, is being able to go around and play different positions and having to strategize, and otherwise could just be whoever the strongest athlete is would dominate all the way through. But getting a touch on the net there is Campagne, and that's another point for Queens. Takes us to the second set technical timeout. 16-14 the lead for the Gales.
And I think that because we do rotate, right, it forces players to develop all skills, right? You have to be able to serve. You have to be able to block, pass, set. Obviously, all the skills that are involved in the game. If you did go to that style, it would allow for more specialized players, but maybe the quality of the game would be better. Maybe the development of the athlete would be less. And to an extent, if you watch any NCAA women's volleyball, right, there's so many substitutions, right? They have so many defensive specialists, as we see some replays here queued up, but it would change the game. No doubt about that.
Back set there from Grossinger comes down the line, but it's a nice block read there again by UNB. Push to the far side that time on the last set there from Grossinger. He's done a great job with sets in tight to the net, being able to adjust and still allow the offense to run smoothly. So 16-14 the lead at the moment for the Queens Gales. Again, they held a 2-point lead at the first set technical timeout, and UNB was able to rally.
And I could be wrong, but I do believe that in the pro league in the United States in the late 70s, early 80s, it was a no rotation league. They just had players play in certain spots.
Ryan Kolpitz with a push down the line. I think that's Steve Randall. Gets UNB back to within a single point, trailing 16-15. McCarthy, Kaufman unable to get to that one cleanly. Goes off its forearms and out of play.
So back-to-back points for the Varsity Reds after the technical timeout. And now Coach Willis adjusting her receive, pushing Hutchison out, try to free him up to attack right away.
And Rudd unable to get to that one cleanly either, as he was tucked away on the last receive. But a block up nicely there by Peckham. UNB able to scramble to get to it. Free ball sent over by Campagne. Set to the pipe to Trentz. And that one comes back over the net. Then you see Peckham making sure on the touch in case it didn't hit the ground. Was able to put that one away as well.
There is a tournament all-star team, you know, kind of MVP and stuff that come with things here. But if you were picking players based on our performances we've seen from them to this point, obviously these only two teams have played 2 games, but Trentz would certainly be up there. He's been fantastic all weekend long.
Trentz unable to get a clean touch underneath that one to keep it alive. And we've alluded to it a number of times already, Jared, but again, the switch back to the left side has been instrumental for Trentz and Queens' success so far in this game. And certainly if you're looking at position-wise, one of the better left sides in the tournament would be Marcus Trentz.
Well, Trentz is a 5th-year player, correct, Kyle?
He actually missed a year with a season-long injury last year, so is back with the Gales this year as a Teachers College student in his 5th year of action eligibility, so he will be leaving after this year. As Trentz gets to that one, Hutchison keeps it alive. Free ball from Rudd. Finds it deep at a 6. Schlatter inside. Kaufman able to keep that one alive. Then a high ball on second touch there from Trentz. Free ball sent over there by Kaufman. Left side, little tight to the net. UNB close to going over top. And Kaufman thought that one was going out. Gets it touched on it though at the last second. And it's now a 1-point advantage to the Varsity Reds with Nick Glynn serving. And a service error easy for the Gales to read on that one as the floater dipped down to start and then went up. As UNB will make another substitution. Allow their libero Drew Duncan, the first year from Winnipeg, back in.
Well, Kyle, if you look up to the right of the big Canadian flag on the wall, you see that thing is waving around pretty good. And I know that 2 years ago that some of the coaches felt there were a lot of air currents in this gym as the head official overrules here and calls that ball out.
That's tough. The official right on top of it there.
Yeah, he was very confident that ball was in. Looked like it might have clipped the line from where we are.
Dipping down right at the last second, but the referee quick to overturn. But the near side linesman was right on top of it and indicated that it was in, but referee gets the final call and overturns, and it's 19-18 in favor of the Varsity Reds. Hutchison picks it up. Grossinger to the pipe to Trentz. Swings it off the block and falls down. Good answer back again for Queens.
Interesting thing about Trentz I've noticed here, he doesn't really ever seem to have much emotion out there, right? He's not too high, not too low, kind of just going about his business, and whether he gets a kill or makes a mistake, he doesn't really seem to have much different look on his face. Oh, looks like we might have a ball change here.
One of the balls maybe started the split, or maybe not the official game ball.
So I think what happened was, interesting how this all works. After that one serve from Grossinger that went behind the curtain, it got mixed up with one of the warm-up balls. So a good keen eye there, picking up on that.
Deep serve, and that one's going to be ruled inbounds. Good to see our linesman keeping a cool head and not afraid to make a call back-to-back.
Well, that's a very veteran official down there in that corner too. So, and now that serve went behind the curtain as well, and now there's, is there fake balls? Is there rogue balls? Is this a Tom Brady situation all over again here, Kyle?
I think it might be. 20-19 is the score at the UNB timeout. So we'll see if the Gales can push through here and not allow this lead to slip through their fingertips. But it's been a good match back and forth thus far. Again, the first set, teams are trading points, and UNB able to sustain and into extra points, win 26-24. And a lot of unorthodox, strange things that have happened here in this second set, but we'll see if the Gales can weather the storm here and pull out a second set victory and tie things up in a set apiece.
Well, our young volunteers here that are doing all of the on-floor duties, they're doing a great job, right? And she was kind of looking at the referee going, what did I do wrong? She's polishing up that ball with that blue towel. She's got it ready to go. She thought she was doing the right thing.
Great job that time by Prentice, not trying to force the attack. Nobody coming up to match up with him at the net, just pushing it down with authority. And sometimes that's just as if not more effective than a hard swing.
Can be very hard to defend, not as exciting for the highlight reel. You know, some of those are players' dreams there, those over bumps to go up and take a big swing, but a smart play by Prentice.
Service error that time from Hutchison, serves out the back.
That poor black curtain, that same curtain, beside, and ironically enough, beside the Queens banner, that Queens keeps hitting those balls into.
It's a target for the Gales, serving practice here. Colpit. Make that McConnell. Inside as Trentz pushes into the block and deflects it out of play. 2-point lead restored here, and we'll get Tom Ellison to come in and serve here for Malcolm Prentice.
Ellison from Winnipeg, so somebody that I've seen for years come through the school and club system. I believe now in his 5th season of eligibility here with Queens.
Yeah, Tom will be graduating from the Gales as well.
A really heavily taped up left hand.
Doucette, push to the outside, and Ellison with a great dig to pick it up. Grossinger there, off the block and out of play. And that goes to the way of the Gales, 23-20. And not only is Ellison out there as an effective server, and we saw as a passer, but brings another set of hands out there as well, even though that one is heavily taped up and might be forced to pass with the forearms.
I see his dad, James, in the crowd, pretty happy after that big dig.
Doucette goes to forearms as well. McCarthy with the roll shot down the line as Hutchison thought maybe that one was still coming down. Duncan gets to it. Doucette quick into the middle. Ellison takes hands there as Grossinger comes across the trench, just going to tip it over the top. Doucette with a push to the left side. Block on McCarthy. Doucette again to the right side, this time to Colpitz. Swing is there off the block of Peckham and Trentz and out of bounds.
Any idea what Ellison did to his fingers there after that? I mean, basically it was just a hand pass dig. You could see he was in quite a bit of pain, grimacing there.
Not entirely sure, but Tom Ellison's had to deal with a handful of injuries in his Queens career, especially the latter stages when he would be getting some significant minutes, and that one's going to go the way of UNB as well. They say that Grossinger was over top of the tape there in that backcourt set.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Serve coming there from McCarthy. Make that Brad Stewart. Tough to see some of these UNB numbers. Hutchison picks it up, comes to the outside to Trents. Roll off the top of the block. Doucette scrambles to get to it. And they come back to the left side, and Colpitts converts. Big point one there by UNB. Excellent job to stay with it, especially from Doucette, as the setter scrambles to keep that play alive.
That's Colpitts' 13th point, which is tied with Trent's for most in the match. And, you know, we're 23-23 here in this second set, Kyle. UNB won the first, and they're 2 points away from going up 2-0. It could easily be 2-0 Queens here. I mean, this has really been pretty much a dead even match between these two teams.
Two evenly matched groups here, and here's you got a couple of looks at the replays there. There's the swing from Trent's. It was heavy off the block. It goes off hands and out of the length of the court. But you're right, Jared, both evenly matched teams, as you would expect from a lot of the teams that are close in terms of their ranking here at this national championship. We saw the Gales are 7th seeded as the silver medalists out of the Ontario Conference, and UNB is the 6th seed, the champions from Atlantic Canada.
Really curious to see how they do with the AUS and RSEQ combining next year and how the berths will be allotted. And I mean, the conference already has the interlock, so it's not going to change too much, I don't think, but interesting to keep an eye on.
Float serve off the tape comes in to the benefit of Peckham's attack, but it's picked up nicely there by UNB as Kaufman dives to keep that one alive. Grossinger with an excellent set with the forearms. And kind of some shaky play all around there. Trent's comes across and puts an end to the rally. Marcus Trent's just out-muscling and a hard attack to the right.
So now this is where we got caught up all the way before with the wrong server with Rudd. So he actually hasn't served for quite a while. Let's see how he does this one here with the set on the line.
Nice serve from Rudd, but it's handled on serve receive from Doucette. Comes across and Kaufman with a great dig. UNB will reset. Doucette to the right side. Colpitts, big dig Hutchison. Peckham touches it over. Great effort by the Gales defensively off the top of the block. And Colpitts converts. And it's back to 24s, but great effort by the Gales defensively.
Some high-level play there, some big swings on the outsides, defended well by Queens, but it is Colpitts off the top of the block who extends this second set now into extra points as we're tied at 24.
Colpitts will come through with a spinner, and that's going to go out the back. Give a free point to Queens on the service error. And now it's set point for the Gales, who could return the favor and win this one 26-24 and tie the match up at a set apiece. Trent's high float. Comes over across the tape. Doucette to the outside. That's a touch again off the block and unable to get there as it went off of Peckham and Grossinger and out of play.
So I believe that's McCarthy's 5th kill. It's really been Colpitts who's heavily carried the load here for UNB.
See Mitchell Newart coming down the line here as could perhaps see some action for Joel Rudd. Outside, Hutchison squeezes it through the block again. Actually, we have Newart there. Newart might be coming in for Grossinger to try to get a bit more height. Prentice is going to be coming back in as Mitchell Newart will come in now for Grossinger. You got Ellison, who's now come off the floor.
I'm thinking that the hands will probably be taken by, it looks like Rudd or potentially Trent's. No, I think Rudd will probably have the hands here.
Trying to get Newart out there, and then perhaps that's going to be a quick change, and in fact it is. So they tried to bring Newart out there for a little bit of height at the net. It's a good move to try to earn that set point victory.
Yeah, and that's something that, you know, you're giving up the transition set, hoping to try to get finish the point with the block.
And another service error. We'll see if they try to run it again. Campagne with a shot out the back, and it's another set point opportunity here for Queens. 27-26, but Grossinger now back court, so it's a non-issue. Prentice, Rudd, and Hutchison now in the front court, with Kaufman, Grossinger, and Trentz in the back. Off the tape, Duncan picks it up off the tape, comes across as Kaufman gets there. Trentz with an excellent save. Kaufman sends it back over. Can the Gales ride this momentum to a block at the net? They do, but just outside. Tough break there for Queens. As it goes off the block of the Gales on the right side, comes out of bounds.
This is a pretty good volleyball here after 25, Kyle. Some big plays here. It ties up at 27.
Just a few extra points here in this second set. As Trentz, with a bit of a mishandle, goes over the top. Hutchison able to cover in and get the dig, and it's an excellent attack there from Rudd. Again, he's had a couple of those where he's changed the angle of his approach and his attack at the last second, reading the block nicely and being able to adjust accordingly.
Now back to serve is Hutchison, 28-27. We said we had a feeling this one could go extra. We didn't mean extra in each set.
So we'll see if Hutchison's got a hard spin. Wouldn't be surprised if he tries to go for the ace to finish this off. But Duncan handles it with calm and poise. They go off the top, Kaufman, but Hutchison gets there first. Grossinger to Trentz, off the block, drops into the open floor, and it continues again, Jared.
Well, we're definitely getting into the 30s now as we're tied 28-28. What's the highest set you've ever seen in person?
I believe it was a 38-36.
Last year, our provincial final, 18U Manitoba, 42-40 to win. That was the second set. Yeah, quite exciting. I don't know if we'll get that high here as UNB, big ace there for the Reds, and then they now have set points.
Yeah, they get the huge break point there as they get the service ace down the line. Tough one again for Trentz, as that one looks like it's going out, but it comes with so much pace from that serve from Connor McConnell. He'll see if he can give the UNB varsity Reds the second set. And takes a bit of pace off it this time, but it's an overbump, and the attack there for UNB. And what a decision made there by number 6, Connor McConnell, to take pace off the ball and forcing the Gales to adjust their serve receive. Leads to the overpass and a kill there for UNB, 30-28, Jared. UNB takes a 2-0 lead, and we'll be back upcoming for the third set. Right after this, you're watching the USports Men's Volleyball National Championships from Burridge Gymnasium on USports Live.
A chance to flip the script. An invitation to take everything we know and reinvent it. It takes courage. It's an obsession. Never settling for just good enough. It takes a true creator to make something out of nothing. It takes guts. Calling all creators. Those who see obstacles as a chance to win bigger. Calling all creators. The changers. The difference makers. The boundary breakers. The tomorrow takers. Calling all creators. Get up. Invent. Adapt. Write new rules. Calling all creators. It's a new day. Create something.
A proud tradition, building youth and our nation from coast to coast to coast. Creating enduring legacies, sharing excellence, while enriching Canadian culture and pride. The Canada Games is one of the largest multi-sport events in the world for developing athletes, empowering our next generation of national, international, and Olympic champions. The Canada Games, inspiring dreams and building champions.
And welcome back to the Burridge Gymnasium at the campus of McMaster University. Consolation semifinal number 1 here on day 2 of the championship. And it is the UNB varsity Reds up 2-0. But that scoreline not indicative of how competitive this game has been, Jared, as the Gales have been right there in both sets and had an opportunity, as you mentioned, to be up 2-0 instead of down.
Queens is actually out-attacking UNB so far in this match. It's very close, but 34% to 31%. And the big difference here, though, is UNB, 9 total team blocks, Queens only with 1. So that could be part of it. But, I mean, obviously 26-24, 30-28, this game could go either way. And leading the way, though, for Queens, an impressive performance, it's Trentz and Hutchison. Trentz, 13 kills on 24 attempts with 5 errors. Hutchison, 10 on 15 with 1 error. On the UNB side, it's the fifth-year opposite who is trying to continue his career by 1 more game. 13 kills on 19 attempts with 2 errors. So somebody's career is coming to an end today, obviously, as there's fifth years on both these sides. Let's see what they're able to do. Very competitive so far through 2.
Set to the inside, and UNB gets on the board first. Gales continuing to run with the same lineup as they have, as is UNB. But maybe each team would perhaps get some different bodies in, but as the set becomes a little more clear, but we haven't seen that at all yet. Kaufman, set to the inside. Prentice with the attack again, as Rudd just the high arcing ball allowing Grossinger to set up underneath. Doucette to the offside, Trentz with the dig. Kaufman takes second ball, great set from him as Hutchison comes across. No touch on the block, and it's an attacking error from Zach Hutchison. And it's 2-0 quickly out of the gate here for UNB.
You wonder what kind of spirit Queens will have left here in this third set after being in position to win the first 2 and now being down 2-0.
Push to the outside and a cut down the line, but out of play, no contact on the block. And the Gales get on the board for their first point. The swing goes out of bounds.
I always found it interesting when you lose, 2 sets and you are in extra points in both of them. It's deflating, but it's encouraging at the same time, right? You know that you're so close, but also it's sort of thinking, we're down 2-0. That's a big mountain left to climb.
Especially in a consolation semifinal. Obviously feeling a little deflated after yesterday's performances that knocked them out of medal contention, but are still competing on the national stage and want to finish the season off on a high note. Kaufman picks it up on serve receive. Grossinger goes straight up. Trentz get the touch, but the block pushes it almost out of the reach there of the libero. Number 3, Alex Eggers. But then UNB recovers. They're up 4-1 early here in the third set.
McConnell, who ended that second set with a couple big serves, hoping to get into an early groove here in the third.
And it's long serve out the back that time from Connor McConnell. Broadcaster's curse, I think.
Absolutely. We had it going yesterday, Tom and I. Tom was the jinx. Anytime he had mentioned anything about a serve, it would be an automatic mistake right after. I was usually on the other side. I would say something and they would do something well right after.
Prentice with a deep serve, and that comes right back the other way. So successive service errors, one on either side.
That one's not on us. We didn't talk about his serve at all.
There was Prentice taking that one under his own wing. Now the opposite, number 16, Brad Stewart, also a middle. Will take the serve. Deep floater from him, off the arms there of Hutchison and out of play. Usually pretty sure-handed on serve receive, but that goes off his arms and out the back. 6-2 the lead now for UNB, and we mentioned, Jared, that it could be a little bit of deflating or morale killing after 2 tight set losses for Queens and what could potentially be their last one of the season, and an overpass there from Trentz. Lucky to keep that one alive, and Trentz just throws it over on the free ball. Doucette to the outside. McCarthy, able to get the hard attack across. Doucette, they come to the right side this time. And Colpitz with the swing off the hands there of Peckham and out of play. 7-2 the lead now, and perhaps an early timeout coming from the Gales, and we do see it at 7-2. The Gales going to have to go back to the drawing board here, but UNB feeling it now and are up by 5 early in the third set.
Yeah, you got to wonder if the run for Queens might be coming to an end. They've been on such a good streak these last couple of weeks. They're defeating Western and then making the OUA final and qualifying here for the national championship in Coach Willis' last season, and having opportunities to win those first 2 sets, being close, dropping them both, and now maybe down here 7-2. There's just only so many times you can keep battling back, but this team has shown some great spirit all the way through.
So 7-2 is the lead.
Here.
So coming out of the timeout, 7-2 is the lead for the UNB Varsity Reds. Again, coming in as the AUS champions, but not the most successful season, to say the least, in program history for the Varsity Reds. But again, another appearance here at national championships. Have been the class of the AUS for the last handful of years. The hard float serve there from Stewart. Comes to the far side. Trentz was off Trentz's head. This is have to go over now from Kaufman, and he's aware of that. Able to send it over on the free ball. Pipe ball coming. Great attack and execution from Connor McConnell out of the backcourt.
It's amazing how just the confidence of your team and how you're making your way through matches changes the way that you play, right? We didn't see that type of run at all yesterday from UNB against UBC. And coming into that match, I had seen UNB in person. I thought they really had 3 good outside hitters that could maybe give UBC some trouble. They just couldn't get on the right foot, and now today, here they are. You see that, and that's a great run. That's going to score against any team in the country from McConnell there. It's just amazing, just the confidence what you're able to do against certain teams.
And with the athleticism of some of these players at this level, that attack coming out of the backcourt, tough to defend against. It's usually really hard contact. As the serve from Rudd comes over, Doucette pushes to the far side, and a tip down the line. Kaufman able to pick it up, and Hutchison will throw it over on the free ball. Duncan takes first ball, sends inside, and it's blocked there by Peckham. Grossinger, far side to Trentz, off the block. Peckham gets down to cover. It's a long way to go down for Jack Peckham, and the swing from Trentz into the block, but comes back and touches the sideline. Another tough break there for the Gales attack.
Kyle, that was all set up with a nice receive by Drew Duncan, who a player I've known for many, many years. He played with our volleyball club in Winnipeg starting when he was only 12 years old, and I'm sure much to the delight of his parents who are here in person, and family, sister, and grandparents watching back home in Winnipeg.
Overpass there from Kaufman on serve receive. Doucette comes in, tucked over there by McCarthy. And the pipe ball this time from Hutchison, and the overpass there, touched back by Peckham, and a point won by Queens, who trail 9-4. But are trying to mount a comeback here with Trentz at the service line.
Yeah, they're going to need a big run from somebody on the line to get back into this third set, down 9-4.
Floater there from Trentz, almost a double call there. But Doucette just touches it over, and Peckham has to react. Good save off the net there by Grossinger. Set to the C, as Rudd with hard contact there, but it's dug up nicely there by Duncan. Doucette, C ball back the other way off the block, and it's a point won by Colpitts, who's had an excellent game here today, Jared, after a disappointing game yesterday against UBC.
Yeah, bounced back quite nicely. That's his 17th point now. 17 points in 2.5 sets is not too shabby.
McCarthy with a deep serve. Kaufman able to handle that one cleanly. Push to the outside. Hutchison gets it through the seam, and a touch coming there from McConnell, but unable to pick it up. As you saw, McCarthy perhaps had a better vantage point and angle to make a clean pass up.
Our substitution checking in here for Queens. We actually don't have his name on the program here. We're gonna have to do a little research on that one.
White ball again from McCarthy. Peckham gets a touch. Trentz gets to it and just sent over. Doucette to the outside. Hard attack that time from Connor McConnell. An excellent attack down the line.
McConnell looking smooth on the last couple attacks. Only his 7th point of the day, but seems like he has more, because I think every kill he's had has been highlight reel worthy. Grossinger going back to serve here.
So Julian Kreigel, the elusive number 14, is in. He's got a ton of height there, Kreigel.
First year eligibility.
First year, 6'8".
Played with Lakeside, so he would have been a teammate then of Setter Grossinger last season. They had a Final Four finish at the 18U Nationals in Saskatoon.
Went to St. Mary's here in Dundas. As Hutchison comes in and unable to turn the block in as McConnell. As Hutchison just going to smack the ball off hands and take that point every single time. 12-7 the lead now for UNB. So the Gales clawing away here and trying to cut the deficit back to 4. A spin serve upcoming. So here the UNB bench kind of goading Hutchison into it. Doucette gets a double touch. Tough one there for Doucette as it went over top of his hands, clipped the net, then went hit his shoulder, then hit his forearm. So tough one there for Doucette. That's something that doesn't happen a whole lot.
I'm not, yeah, there's not really much he could have done. He's a back row player, right? He can't really be too aggressive at the net.
And a service error that time from Hutchison gives it right back to UNB. Back to 5 points the lead, 13-8. We're approaching the third set technical timeout. 3 points away if you're UNB. Back to serve is Connor McConnell from Hanwell, New Brunswick. High spinner from him. Takes a bit off of it, has it roll back into Trent's. Rosinger to the outside to Rudd, and it's read nicely that time by UNB. Getting a push on it as McCarthy comes back off of Rudd and drops down to the floor. And this one a little more lopsided than we saw in the first 2 sets.
Yeah, I think UNB is just feeling real good now, up 2-0, and I think it's tough on this side of the draw, you know, playing after a loss yesterday when you're down 2-0 to really dig deep and find that extra gear, which Mac had yesterday, you know, in their big win after being down 2-0 from Montreal. Interesting, there was 2-0 victories, comebacks in the women's quarterfinals yesterday. We had 1 yesterday in the men's.
Push from Grosinger to the outside as Trent wipes it off the block. We had 1 game go to 5 yesterday with the McMaster and Montreal game. 2 that were in 4.
Yep.
And 1 3-game sweep, which came courtesy of UBC over UNB.
When you think about it, I mean, it would make sense as we head to the timeout at 16-9, but for how many games go 3 straight, it would make sense that, in theory, there could be just as many 2-0 comebacks in 5, right? But it's just that mindset, the psyche of being down 2-0 and how much things change. But that's the neat thing about volleyball is the game really resets set to set, so it shouldn't be impossible for that to happen. It's not like coming back from being down 25 or 30 in basketball.
A couple of early third set highlights here from UNB is a good swing out of the backcourt. Good angle there from our camera crew of Peckham and Hutchison trying to close the block there. As you see the UNB coaching staff discussing their game plan here as they lead by 7 points at the tech timeout here. Again, the most comfortable lead we've seen all match long. And we'll see if UNB can put the gas pedal down here and finish this off. And as we approach what could be the deciding set here in the match, continue to discuss what's the end of a storied career for Queens for Brenda Willis.
With the Kiss Me I'm Irish cam here in the gym at Mac. I think there was a brother-sister combo that came up on there as they were immediately given the no, no, no. I guess that happened the other day in the NBA. I think it led to a SportsCenter top 10 top 10 on-camera moments.
So coming out of the tech timeout, we have Brad Stewart back to serve. It's a float serve from him. It's deep. Kaufman able to pick it up nicely. Push to the outside to Trentz. Comes down. Marcus Trentz with emphasis cuts across and unable to pass it up was Stewart as his service run comes to an end quickly. As now a couple of substitutions more upcoming for Queens.
And this is Matthew Utting coming in to set. Utting, who played his club volleyball with Ottawa Mavericks, a player that I've seen for a couple years, coaching against him. And Dylan Van Eden.
Dylan Van Eden coming out of St. Andrews College, played with the Aurora Storm for his club volleyball. And they're going to call interference there on Jack Peckham. He came across a little too quickly, and now Joel Rudd just going to come right back into the game for Matthew Utting. And Matthew Udding, a product of Franco Cité High School in the National Capital Region, team that is a volleyball powerhouse on the AA circuit, usually on the Ontario Provincials. Deep serve there.
Great bump set.
A couple of others from Franco Cité in this tournament as well. Like Matthews Volarski from McMaster as well, and a handful of others. So some storied programs here throughout the high school circuit that are being well represented here, at least the Ontario high schools that I'm quite familiar with, but maybe the same on the other side for Ontario or Manitoba provincials for you, Jared.
Yeah, I always found it interesting just on the Ottawa piece that, you know, really a great club system, lots of good players coming through on the male side, and no university teams.
And no Ottawa U or Carleton team as this strong serve continues there from Trent's. Able to chip a few back as it's 17-13 the lead now for UNB. So perhaps Trent's not quite ready to be done his university career as they're continuing to push back here, trying to close the gap to 3. And it's a short serve.
Yeah, and 7 or 8 more points here at Trent's could be. And it's a tough reality to swallow, right? I think always the biggest thing is just the lack of time that you have with those teammates moving forward, right? The playing is one thing. I think you can find ways to still satisfy those competitive urges with coaching and whatnot, but it's the time spent with your group together. As we see McConnell get a good kill there across court.
And Connor McConnell doesn't have to quite worry about that for at least another 2 or 3 years. It's the second year. A nice angle shot coming across outside the block and able to find the floor on the left side, and there's going to be a substitution again for the Gales.
Kind of a nice move here from Coach Willis, actually getting some of the players who haven't seen the court much at the championship. At least they can now say they were on the floor, they were a part of it.
Seifert back in. We saw him come in yesterday with Malcolm Prentice struggling a little bit. So Seifert back onto the floor once again. He's a first year as Udding tries to get it up top to Seifert. But to no avail. 20-13 is the score now for UNB. And we'll see if the Gales are perhaps going to put on some other pieces here who may have their last bit of volleyball in their OUA careers, as Evan Schlatter with make that Pascal McCarthy with a nice float serve. And that's going to be a timeout for Queens. 21-13 the lead in favor of UNB.
And I think Queens really played quite well in those first 2 sets. And kind of almost similar to yesterday's game against Alberta, probably deserved a bit of a better fate than what they had. And down 2-0, you know, just maybe kind of ran out of steam here a little bit in this 3rd set, now trailing 21-13. But you got to give credit to UNB, who has played well. Started off a little bit slow in the first, and ever since then have played well. And you look up at their points, it's a very balanced attack, right? I mean, it's everybody's kind of contributing here a little bit, chipping in with some kills. And I think it's Cole Pitts who kind of been the ringleader of things today. But
yeah, I think if we're making some player of the game predictions, Cole Pitts maybe for UNB, and looking to Zach Hutchison perhaps for the Queens Gales. I know Trent's is up there with 17 kills. Again, he's had a number of attacking errors, and I believe was the player of the game yesterday for Queens.
He was, yeah, and I think they usually try to spread those out a little bit if they can.
Especially if the performances were on par. They come inside. Oh, taking a slip there was Van Eden, but able to pick it up. Schlatter, pass outside, triple block set up, including Hutchison, Van Eden, and Seifert. That's a big point won by the Gales.
And Van Eden there, it slipped, but recovered nicely to be part of that big block.
Seifert serving. Deep ball, Duncan gets to it, sets to the offside, roll off the top. Trent's able to get to it to keep the rally alive. Inside, roll to the corner. Goes just out of bounds on the attack from Van Eden. Nick Glynn going to come back in and serve for UNB as he takes the place of Herbert Campagne. 22-14, so 3 points away from qualifying for the Consolation Championship, where UNB has the opportunity, and the Trent's coming out of the pipe. UNB would have the opportunity to finish higher than their seed coming in, which is usually the challenge or the goal for some of the teams that do end up losing their quarterfinal is to see if they can outperform where their seed is, unless, of course, they get upset in the quarterfinal. It's one of the top 4 seeds that lose.
Couple subs checking back in for Queens of Rudd and Grosinger. Return to the court.
Grosinger will take to the service line. Floater from him, clean over the tape. Schlatter to the pipe. McCarthy finds the seam. Can't quite get a look on it up top there. And it's a big swing there from UNB. They'll make a few more switches as well. Kolpitz and Doucette coming back into the game for the varsity Reds. And Doucette will drop back in to serve. 23-15. Doucette, short serve. Goes into the net.
I think a lot of people on the surface, they're always amazed by how many missed serves there are in volleyball, but I'm amazed by that type of miss, right? The soft one into the net, and I don't mind the aggressive one. Those ones there, I'm sure, those are the ones that give you a little bit of gray hair.
Hutchison off the tape. Duncan gets to the first pass, sets to the inside, block up top nicely. Party ball comes across, and it's hammered home by the Gales at the net. Keeping alive for now, as it's 23-17. On the attack in the middle from Julian Kreigel, and it's going to be a timeout UNB with a 6-point edge, looking to finish this off and going to try to slow the Gales' energy and momentum down here a little bit.
Yeah, not a bad timeout. I mean, you have still a 6-point lead, and 23-17 is a pretty comfortable situation, but I think try to just stop it right here, right now, and really focus on getting that one side out and then earning one more point on your serve for the win.
So 6 points, certainly not insurmountable at this point, but still 2 points from match point, or 2 points from winning the match here if you are UNB. So again, could potentially be the last sequence out of the timeout here for a few of the Gales, namely Marcus Trent's number 2, as he will be graduating from the program after this match if the Gales cannot mount the comeback. Hutchison will be returning, as is Joel Rudd, Grosinger, Kaufman.
Good core, a good core to be working with for a new coach next season.
Doucette to the outside. Kolpitz again continues his strong afternoon. Swings off hands and out of play, brings us to match point. And it'll be a quick ending here at the end for us, Jared. So one last time to congratulate Brenda Willis on a lengthy and storied career with the Queens Gales. So an ambassador for the sport of volleyball. She'll be missed on the OUA circuit, but congratulations on an excellent career for her. And we welcome the new Gales coach, whoever that might be, to the volleyball ranks next year, as Trent's, with the attack on the left side, comes cross court, keeps the Gales season alive for at least one more point.
Kyle, she had a really good line at the All-Canadian breakfast on Thursday. She said, "I'm not retiring from volleyball, I'm just retiring from coaching." I think that's a good way she'll stay involved. And unfortunate way to end the match, but congratulations to UNB, winning 3 sets to none, advancing to tomorrow's consolation final.
And that's how the game ends for the Gales, 25-18 in the third set. So the first 2 sets going to extra points at 26-24 and 30-28. 25-18 the score in the third set, and UNB takes it 3 sets to none and will qualify for tomorrow's consolation final. Get a couple of replays here from today's match, as again, teams come up and shake hands, but a good battle in the first 2 sets anyway, and then just a formality, it seemed like, for that third set. Some hard hitting and some great adjustments and attacks from both sides of the floor, Jared. But we talked about Kolpitz and the effort he had today, and then also looking to Trent and Hutchison, who had strong efforts for the Gales. Yeah,
I think UNB, a nice rebound today. They'll be proud about that win, and congratulations to Queens on a good showing. Unfortunate 2 tough losses here this weekend, but really a solid season for them qualifying for the tournament. Like I said, congratulations to Brenda Wilson, a great coaching career.
So that is consolation semifinal number 1 in the books. UNB will qualify for tomorrow's consolation final. Stay tuned for at about 3 o'clock. We'll get about a half-hour warm-up here. 3 o'clock, the second consolation semi between Montreal, as they will take on the Windsor Lancers. For Jared Brown, I'm Kyle Campo. We'll see you back here shortly as USports Men's Volleyball Championships continues in Hamilton.